Look at that! It just fits right up. Got one. We've got one. I'm going to run away with this right now, take it home, and auction it off to the highest bidder. Let's go. Hi, I'm Rob from Radio Times Gaming, and I'm very excited to tell you we've been invited by Nintendo to have an early look at the Switch 2. So we're travelling now to Nintendo headquarters in Japan to check out the game. Wait, what? Paris. It's not Japan. Why would it be in Paris? What the fuck? We've made it! We are here at the Grand Palais in Paris, right by the Champs-Élysées, and we are going to see the Nintendo Switch 2. We're going to get our first hands-on. For a bit of context, this is the day after the big reveal event online, and this is about a week before this show is going to come to London to the Excel Centre, so let's see what they've got in store. So I've just held in mine own hands a Nintendo Switch 2 for the first time, and first impressions, it does feel thinner. It feels, I don't know if it is lighter, but it kind of feels lighter in the hand. The screen, you can tell that it's bigger, you can tell that it's got kind of richer detail.
You had so much detail! The detail was so rich! It was rich detail!
It's a bit of a controversial topic that it wasn't an OLED screen, but still I felt it was a visible upgrade on what I'm used to. Playing Mario Kart World, which is the new one where you've got 22 players? I want to say 23.
It wasn't.
Which is, again, a lot more stuff going on the screen, which makes it really fun and chaotic. There's kind of, the added players kind of makes it so that you kind of need to pay a little bit more attention to what other people are doing. Like if someone else has dropped a load of coins, you might want to swerve off path and get coins. You can get up to 20 coins now to kind of increase your kind of base speed stat, which is really helpful. I felt that made a big difference. You know, making sure you actually get a power up when you go past a load of crates is quite important. I didn't win a race yet, which is a bit of a sore point. Me and Ben, my lovely video friend slash colleague, had a cow versus cow battle off camera, and Ben came out on top, which is very frustrating. But no, it feels great. It still feels a lot like Mario Kart. It still feels a lot like a Switch game, but just, you know, slightly bigger, slightly better. And there's a round of applause for that amazing description of the game. Thanks, guys. Guys, you might know Nintendo as a family-friendly company. We're actually here at the 18 rated area to check out the most sordid games they have, namely Cyberpunk 2077 and Yakuza 0 on my other side. Let's see just how exciting it can get.
3 hours later.
Kid you not, I cannot even show you half the stuff that we saw in there. 5 stars. So we've played a few third-party games now. We played Cyberpunk in the adults-only area. We played Hogwarts Legacy, we played a bit of Yakuza. Was there one other one I'm forgetting? Doesn't matter. Basically, all I would say is that this kind of playing the third-party games kind of shows you that the Switch 2, obviously it's more powerful than the original Switch, is still not as powerful as having an amazing PC at home or having, say, a PS5 Pro at home. You can kind of see the examples when you play those bigger third-party games that are made for multiple platforms. In Hogwarts Legacy, as much as it was super fun to play that game again, you can kind of see, if you look too closely at the kind of middle distance, you can kind of see things kind of turning into blur and into kind of fog, kind of maybe slightly closer than you would like them to. When you kind of want that real sense of depth and wonderment would be super cool. And on Cyberpunk, when you get super close up to a character in like a conversation, you're like, oh, I kind of remember the faces in this game looking a lot more realistic than this and a lot less kind of creamed down, I don't know how to describe it, but kind of less texture, less detail. But that doesn't stop either of those being really good games, and obviously the Switch has the benefit of you can play it anywhere, you can play it in all these different ways. But just a little observation that the Switch 2 is obviously more powerful than the Switch, but it's not necessarily going to be as amazing a technical feat as playing something on the best PC you can find. Got one. We've got one. I'm going to run away with this right now, take it home and auction it off to the highest bidder. Let's go. So we've got one now not attached to the wall, very theft friendly, but the reason they've kind of left one out here is so we can play with the Joy-Cons, which you might remember the old ones, you had to slide them on and it was kind of a bit awkward. You'd have to press that little button. Sometimes you would feel like you were forcing it on the wrong way, and it was probably because you were forcing it on the wrong way half the time. So we're going to test out how well does this new magnetic feature work. So the way you take them off, I'm told, is this little kind of catch there, which, I mean, part of me worries you might just catch that accidentally, but let's see how it goes. I'm going to take the top one first, you press it in, and it clicks off. Look at that, it just clicks right off. It just, and then it just clicks back on. So you just press that little button there, and it just clicks straight off. And then you just kind of click back on, and like you kind of hold it closely enough, it just kind of finds, the magnets find each other. But what I'm told from the direct is that actually the magnets are in there and those are steel, so that, like, that's what, there's no magnet on there, it's just metal. Let's just check the other end in case you know it's different. Exactly the same. Different colour, that one's blue. And yeah, that's it. Pretty exciting. The other thing that's different is the stand, which I assume you just kind of pull it out. Yeah, just going to pull that out. And now it's no longer just that one thin one you had before, and it kind of stretches all the way down, so you can kind of have it flat on like a table in front of you. Again, pairing that with the mouse function, again, just click it off, you've got a little mouse there. Pairing that off, that feels quite fun to me. And I think people will use that more than they used to use the tabletop mode, because now they want the benefit of having the mouse control. So yeah, really smart piece of design, and there is a queue forming, so I'll leave it at that. And yeah, that's the Switch 2. Just over here checking out the different accessories that they've got, and for eagle-eyed among you might notice there's one here that, as of time of recording, we don't think has been formally announced. If you're a big Mario Kart fan, you'll be pleased to know they've got some new wheels. Some new wheels in there for the Joy-Con 2s. Slot in one little Joy-Con and off you go. That looks pretty good to me. We've also got the Pro controller, the much hyped GameCube controller, and we've got a special carry case. Stick that in your backpack and off you go. You're kind of trying to mouse around, and then if you slightly kind of tip one way or the other, obviously you wouldn't get that with like a normal PC mouse. But like, you kind of, if you're kind of holding it in place kind of like that, it's like that's not going to happen. And another thing that's maybe slightly awkward is sometimes you have to like press some of these buttons while it's like down like that, which is then kind of a bit of like you're trying to think of 2 or 3 things at once. Oh god, now I'm in a boss battle. So I have just played with the Switch 2 in the kind of tabletop mouse mode for the first time, which has blown my mind slightly, and I feel like, you know, when the Switch first came out and Nintendo kind of reinvented the wheel of like what a handheld console was, and it's like, oh, now it's going to be a handheld console that also plugs into your TV. You can take your games with you, or you can play them at home. And now so many companies have tried to copy that. You know, you've got the Steam Deck, you've got the Asus ROG Ally, you've got all these different versions of that. And Nintendo has kind of once again gone, well, what if we just change the form factor again? What if actually the controllers you take off on the side aren't just controllers? What if they're also mice, or what if they're a mouse? And it's kind of a totally different way of playing, which is really cool. We were just playing Metroid 4 over there with it. It's a good example of a game where you probably do want that bit of extra precision, where you do want to kind of line up your shot and fire it perfectly, especially when missiles are limited in the game and stuff like that. So yeah, it feels totally different. I wouldn't say it's perfect. The new Joy-Cons are quite thin, so when you use it as a mouse, it's quite easy to kind of knock it over, and you kind of have to stand it back up again, which obviously if you're in the middle of a boss fight or an online matchup, you don't want to be pushing things over and losing valuable seconds. But I think people will get used to that. You'll get used to maybe slightly pinching it from the side so you don't push it over. But it does feel like Nintendo's thrown down a mantle here of what else can we do with this form factor? Can we inspire different ways of thinking and different ways of playing? I think it'll be really interesting to see how do the Valves of the world, the Asuses of the world, react to this, again, reinvention of the kind of handheld format. I think it's going to make the tabletop version of the Switch a lot more useful for people. People will actually use that a bit more, and it makes the idea of maybe I should keep my Switch dock next to my desk, so I've got a nice big mouse mat there. It kind of makes you rethink the whole setup that you're going to have. So really exciting. Wouldn't say it's perfect. Feels like there's room maybe for, you know, a pro version, maybe a slightly thicker, doesn't fall over version at some point down the line. But as an idea, I think it's great, and I think that's so far the biggest thing we've seen where it's actually different to the original Switch. So love that. We've just spent a bit more time with some of the first-party Nintendo games, and I think that's where the Switch 2 is really going to shine, especially at launch. I particularly enjoyed playing Mario Party with the addition of the camera, which is sold separately, but it kind of superimposes you in the game and makes it feel a lot more like you're actually in it. You're not just watching you know, Luigi and the rest of them just kind of running around on your behalf, so that was really fun. We went over and saw Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which is getting a Switch 2 upgrade. That's looking much kind of, I don't know, more alive than it did in my memory. You know, it's really brightly coloured, that you can see so far into the distance. I mean, the art design really kind of lends itself to the whole presentation. I think it's just improved by having that extra fidelity, that extra power, processing power. And we also, this isn't a launch title, but we played Donkey Kong Bananza, and I found that really fun. I got really addicted to just like smashing into the ground and seeing how far you could dig down into the floor. There's actually loads of stuff to discover, and it was a bit deeper than I thought it would be. It's also a bit of kind of a Spyro-alike, just kind of running around an island, seeing what you find, seeing who gets in your way. And we also went and saw the GameCube stuff, which is coming to Switch Online service. That controller brings back the retro feels. I still think it was a bizarre controller in the first place, but it's good to have a Switch version. And I know there are people out there that will be very happy to see the likes of Wind Waker being playable again. And I think all of that stuff is kind of like, that's the first party Nintendo stuff. That's what they really want you to be playing when you get a Switch 2. And I think that's where you really see the console shining. I think third party games, this will be a great way of taking them on the go. But I think especially to start with, Nintendo are going to show, hey, this is what the software should be like on this platform. This is the kind of things we're aiming for, and hopefully that will inform what third parties do a bit later on. So tragically, that is the end of our Switch 2 experience here in Paris. That's roughly what you can expect when the show comes to London or whatever city you're in. There are loads of stuff here. I'd recommend getting here bang on time, if not very early for your session. Make sure you make as much of it as you can. There's loads of stuff here we haven't seen, and I imagine that will be the prevailing experience. You'll see the things that reach out to you, and then you'll try and squeeze in what else you can. But you know, wish we could stay here forever, but sadly we are being kicked out as we speak. But thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe to Radio Times Gaming.